Welcome to another edition of the OSU Sports Extra podcast. I'm Patrick Prince, joined as always by OSU beat writer Kelly Hines and an assortment of cats to be announced later.
We don't know who's going to pop up. It's a mystery to all of us.
We don't know, so we'll see. We just kicked it off. We'll see who appears. So I thought we could maybe do a couple of position breakdowns today, Kelly. I was reading your Sunday copy, which will be our 2022 college preview on all the schools. I was kind of reading your position breakdowns. Running back was one of the positions that kind of stuck out to me. Seems like they're kind of set with Dominic Richardson, but a lot of schools, including Mike Gundy, like to platoon at running back now. What's going on behind Dominic Richardson?
Yeah, I definitely feel like that's one of those positions that you need to have multiple guys like ready to go, just because that especially running backs are going to get banged up as the season goes on. But definitely, I feel like going into the season, Dominic Richardson is the guy, and he's someone who's waited his turn. I'm sure it was really difficult for him last year to see someone like Jaylen Warren pop in and then have a really great season. And Dominique said he learned a lot from the guys who have come before him that he's had to wait behind to get his turn. He definitely seems very ready to take on that role. Really relishes being a leader among the running backs, and definitely has capability that he's shown. It's just you have to have a lot of durability to be a Big 12 running back, and I think just his ability to stay healthy and just go through all of the ups and downs of a season. I think that's going to be a huge part of OSU's offense. I definitely feel like we're going to see a lot of him early in the season, and he's going to have a chance to really establish himself. But then, from there, it's one of those positions that there's not as much depth that has been established from last year. 3 of your top 4 running backs are gone. So behind him, you have some other options. So, Ollie Gordon is a freshman who doesn't look like a freshman. How he plays, I don't know if we probably won't see him early in the season. But, he's a guy who went through the spring along with, CJ Brown. Those are two freshmen who obviously that's huge when you can have your freshmen go through the spring as early enrollees. I think it'll probably be later in the season when we see them. Deandre Jackson is a transfer from Texas A&M. I know they're really high on him. I would definitely think that he's going to be in the rotation. Then you have some other returners. Zach Middleton, who obviously we know from Bishop Kelly. He's had a little bit of an injury and he's still dealing with that to some extent. So I don't know what his availability is going to be early in the year. Definitely think that he will have some chances to be in the rotation. And then Jaden Nixon, who is a redshirt freshman, and he scored a touchdown last year in a game. So, I think with those guys, they're going to have to, figure out what that looks like. But I definitely feel like with Dominic Richardson, having that opportunity to really get into the flow of things as like an every down type back. Obviously, they'll do some rotating, but see what he can do, how durable he's going to be. I think everyone is very excited to see, what that looks like for him.
I know it's different now than in years past where you could kind of watch practice and maybe get a sense of some things. But you mentioned CJ Brown, a Beggs graduate, put up monster stats at Beggs last year. And obviously it's kind of behind Dominic Richardson, like you just detailed. It's kind of a crowded backfield. Do you see him getting much playing time this season as a freshman, or is it just we're just going to have to wait and see?
I think it's some wait and see. I think he is probably going to be a redshirt candidate because that's really what you want with your freshman. I think if Ollie Gordon played, that might be because he just brings something different to the table because he's a totally different body type from the others. So I think that Ollie would maybe have the edge on playing more this season of the 2 freshmen because he is just a different type of running back. So I know that they're very high on CJ, and I definitely feel like he has a very high ceiling for his career. It's just like if you're able to redshirt someone, if you don't need them, I think that's what they're going to try to do. It is kind of hard to know when you don't have you don't see practice, so you don't really see how far players are coming along. But I definitely feel like going through the spring, that gave him a huge advantage to probably get to the point of, okay, do we want to play this guy or not? To even have that as a thought, I think that's probably a good position for him to be in. And, since they can play in up to 4 games without using that red shirt, for guys at skill positions, really at any position, but someone like that playing late in the season, that's really going to give the coaches a look at what they can expect for him, starting next year.
Now, explain to me what is Ollie's running style / body type?
He just doesn't look like a running back, and he doesn't look like a freshman running back. Let me look at, I don't know what he's listed at, but he's got size to him that is different from what everybody else has. He's like 6'1", 211 is what he's listed at. So for a freshman running back, that's pretty good size. I think when you see him, he looks more like 6'2", 220, and you're like, that's a big running back. So I think that alone, gives him the chance to play early in his career, just because he's going to be different from the other running backs on the roster. Yeah. So he's going to have the ability to run guys over, basically.
Yeah, sure. Be fun to watch. All right, let's switch over and talk about defensive line for a second. You mentioned last week how incredibly deep this line is. It'll be fun to see how they rotate and who kind of emerges. But Colin Oliver, I mean, he's a big time guy, right? What's this guy's ceiling? How can you explain to me how good is he? Because he's really, really good, right?
Man, I don't think anybody expected for him to have the sort of season that he did last year, and for someone to come on strong like that, I think it's always you're always wondering, okay, what's that next step for him? He's kind of been able to transform his body, and you look at what he's able to do before doing that, and you're like, yikes, like what is this guy going to be able to do now? I mean, his season that he had, as a true freshman to lead the Big 12 in sacks, I mean, that's pretty incredible. So, I don't think that people thought that he would have like as much of an impact early on in his career because of all of the talent across the defensive line. So for him to be able to break into that, obviously there were some injuries and other things that allowed for that. But I think everyone was so impressed with what he did as a freshman. It's like, I think sometimes it's hard to follow up on that, but I definitely feel like he's going to follow up on that. He's going to be such a central figure and what OSU is going to do on defense, and really across the defensive line, they just have guys they really can count on and have shown that they can do it. Even someone like Trace Ford, who has, obviously had a terrible misfortune to have back-to-back knee injuries and didn't get to play last year. I mean, that's a guy who's done good things in his career and is really primed to do that again this year. So when you just go down the list of Colin Oliver, Tyler Lacey. I mean, are you kidding me? Like Brock Martin, obviously, is like the most veteran guy on the defense. Those are guys who have done such good things during their careers, are really great leaders, really well respected throughout the team, and they go out there on the field and they get it done. And then you start factoring all the other guys who we don't even. I mean, man, there's just a lot of talent on the defensive line. I think. I mentioned before, it's kind of staggering when you look at it, because there are guys, even like backups, we could talk about Xavier Ross and Aiden Kelly and Colin Clay. I mean, you could just literally go down the list, and I didn't even mention Brandon Evers, who has done a lot of really good things in his career and is really impressive. So, I think we think of that defensive line as being those ends who are so dominant, but they have that talent on the interior too. And the backups, even, like, they're all at a very high level, and they're very well coached with Greg Richmond, leading that group. I just feel like that is, you can talk all day about, question marks at other positions on the defensive side, but when you have a defensive line like that, like, I feel like you're set up to do really good things. And that's why OSU's defense was so successful last year, especially when you have someone like Malcolm Rodriguez there in the middle. That really helps, but they don't need to be able to replace someone like Malcolm. They just need all of those other pieces to work well together, and you have a very dominant defensive line. So even if you have injuries and different things that come up, you're still in a really good position because of the overwhelming amount of talent that you have there.
So Kelly, I've always been fascinated with Aiden Kelly. He was a 4-star recruit coming out of Thomas, very small Class A or B school, defensive lineman. You didn't mention him just now. But he redshirted last year. What might we expect from him this year?
I definitely feel like he has a chance to be in the rotation. It's just they're so deep at that position group. It's other than like someone like Colin Oliver or the veterans, it's hard to really like hone in on one person, so you don't really know how much they're going to play. I mean, I think it really just depends on because I didn't cover this team last year, so I don't know how much rotating they do, if they bring in certain guys for certain packages. That's what Tulsa did a lot. They had like a third down package, and they bring in certain guys who they felt like could be really disruptive in certain situations. Aiden Kelly is a guy who I know more about him off the field than really what I've been able to pick up as in terms of like what they're expecting for him on the field. He's just a really intriguing person. He obviously coming from a small town, but wants to be an auctioneer. Like, he's an aspiring auctioneer, which is not a thing that you hear of a lot, but he's just kind of a country boy, and obviously has great size and ability. And I don't know if this could be a breakout year for him just because of all of the depth at his position, but I definitely feel like he's going to be on the field and will have a chance to do some things. So it's kind of hard to see, foresee what that looks like for this year. I definitely feel like as he gets deeper into his career, he will have a lot of opportunities.
So he wants to be an auctioneer. That's fascinating.
Yeah, and there was a charity auction that OSU put on that he was the auctioneer for, and I heard that it went really well. It's kind of an interesting ability that probably doesn't come up very often, but kind of cool. Like, I would never be able to do that. Do you think you could be a good auctioneer?
I don't think so.
I don't think so. It just reminds me of the episode of The Office when they're trying to raise some money for something, and Michael Scott is trying to be the auctioneer, and he's just like not at all doing it correct. And he also said that he would have I think it was Bruce Springsteen tickets, like front row, and that was like a complete lie, and he never had them, and everyone was like, let's get you those tickets, and he's like, oh, I can't find that, and it's like the whole thing. So anytime I think of like an auctioneer, I think of people doing it really poorly, but I'm guessing Aiden Kelly like is actually a legitimate auctioneer.
Probably a little better than Michael Scott at it.
Probably, yeah.
That's all right. So let's switch gears a little bit. Big 12 Commissioner Brett Yormark. Let me say that right.
It is a tricky name too. Yeah. Every time I go to type it, I almost always type York Mark, and then I just fix it. I can't make my fingers type those letters correctly.
Well, let's start with you typing at all with those nails. I find that impressive. Do you want to show the nails? Yeah, show the nails.
It's a skill. Some people are auctioneers. Some people type with long nails. Like, we all have our thing. That is my one thing. That's it. I'm also really good at texting with them. It's like, click, 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 click.
Oh, I don't know how you do that. But all kidding aside, you're a really good typist. Like you have. I mean, you are.
I think I would have to attribute that to like 8 years of piano lessons. I can't play the piano at all, but I have really good form. So I just had a kitten sneeze like right by the computer. Did you hear that?
I didn't hear it, but I'm keeping a lookout for any potential. There we go. Oh, that looks like a mini jet.
Yeah, I have quite a few mini jets running around here. This is Jackie. I have kittens right now that are named after that 70s show. I have Kelso, Hyde, Fez, and Jackie. So
how many cats in the house right now?
I don't think that's appropriate content for our podcast. So I don't need to get like reported. I actually am registered with the city as a foster, and that's why I am able to go over the city limit, which is 5 cats. I have fewer than 5 cats of my own, but I do have these kittens running around as fosters. And there are several that are solid black. Oh my gosh, I wish you could see this one. Can you see her paw? Yeah. Okay, could we not do that? She just like popped up. Real cute. If anyone is in the market for a fully vetted kitten and would provide a good indoor home and agree not to declaw, I'm your person. Just putting that plug out there.
All right, yeah, a
Putting
little
that out into the universe.
PSA there.
Oh, so Brett Yormark, yes.
Yeah.
He visited OSU's campus yesterday, and he's doing these little visits to every campus of I shouldn't say in the Big 12 of the remaining schools in the Big 12. He is going to all of those campuses, and then the 4 incoming members. He's going to those next. So he did 4 last week, 4 this week, and then we'll do those 4 incoming ones in the next couple weeks. So just there at each one for like a day, and it's been kind of entertaining to see on Twitter how all of these schools are like rolling out the red carpet, and they all like give him like a little gift, and they like, it's almost like you're it was very comparable what OSU did to when they have like recruits come in on campus, and they're like, look at all our facilities. We're so happy you're here. Would you like to get on Bullet? Would you like to take a picture? Like, you know, it's very much like, you know, wanting to impress him. But I think he came away from that like impressed with OSU, which is what you want from your new commissioner. There was a handful of us media people who he talked to for a few minutes at the Stillwater Airport, which is lovely. If you haven't been to the Stillwater Airport.
I saw your post, and I wondered why you were at the airport. I didn't know if you were like on a
Just
state.
like to spend time at regional airports. Haven't really spent much time at the Stillwater Airport before. I have been to the Manhattan, Kansas regional airport. I flew out of there once for some weird reason. I can't remember now. But the Stillwater Airport is not that busy, and it has free parking. So all in all, I would say 10 out of 10 experience. Spent a lot of time there waiting mostly, and that's fine. I don't mind waiting, it's totally fine. I'm a very patient person, as you know. So yeah, it's laughable. But Brett Yormark is super impressive. Like really polished, says all the right things, but it also seems like really genuine at the same time. Definitely seems like he's a good fit for the role that he's in. I think he's really good at connecting with people quickly, and that's not, you know, always easy. But, you know, he met a lot of people at OSU yesterday, and, you know, from administration to probably some donors, had lunch with all of the coaches, talked in front of like an all sports staff meeting, and, you know, sat down with Mike Gundy, you know, just made the rounds basically, talked with some athletes, and, you know, based on what Brett Yormark said and what Chad Weiberg said, you know, it sounded like it went really well. You know, I think it's more just like getting acquainted with people, and, you know, he hasn't worked in college sports before. So he said other than taking his 2 kids to, you know, tour like college campuses, he hasn't spent time on college campuses in 25 years. So, you know, for him to be on campus, I think that shows that he's invested, and I think that that's just a good thing. So he talked to us for a few minutes after that, and he said that he would get to Oklahoma and Texas at some point in time, which I think a lot of people kind of were like, oh, that means a lot. And I'm like, I think that just means he's going to get to them later. Like he's not going to visit them on these tours, because why would you spend all day on the campus of a place that you're not going to really be working with them much? They're going to be, you know, they're literally on their way out the door. So I don't think he has limited amount of time, and he's spending that time investing in relationships with people from the schools who he's going to be working with like indefinitely. So I don't think there's a whole lot to read into there. Yeah,
absolutely. All right, let's leave it there for this week. Next week we'll be back on. This is Wednesday, right?
I don't know.
Yeah, we'll go with Wednesday. So Kelly and I will be recording every Wednesday. Next week we'll do some serious season prognosticating, and we'll get Kelly's thoughts on what can we expect from OSU this season. So look forward to that. Kelly, appreciate the time.
Anytime, especially on Wednesdays. Wednesdays are a good day.
All right, noted. Thanks. See you next week.